I hope you had a great Veterans Day weekend. We got a lot to catch up on, a lot to talk about. Please forgive me. We're still working on the lighting in the studio, trying to get it right. I think we're almost there, but unfortunately not quite enough where we still have a little, reflection in our screen, but we'll get that worked out for you. Guys, so much to talk about, so many videos that I want to bring to you. Senator Tim Scott has bowed out of the presidential race. We'll get to that. DEI is totally destroying our Air Force Academy to the point where it may be irreversible. We're going to talk about that. There was a judgment last week against the ATF, and so as a result of that judgment, thank God, myself and other law-abiding gun owners will not have to go to jail. So we'll talk about that as well. President Trump over the weekend went to UFC along with Tucker Carlson and I think Kid Rock, man. He got a fabulous applause there. A lot going on. Jen Psaki basically seems to endorse former President Donald Trump, perhaps accidentally so. So we'll talk about that as well. Megan Rapinoe went down for the count, her very last game as a soccer player, and she went down with an injury. And later on in a press conference, and we have the video for you, she basically said, "This is, this is why I don't believe God exists. Something like this would not have happened to me." So we're going to talk about that, and also the latest updates on IDF and their assault against Hamas in Gaza. Also, did you guys see this? I want you to imagine this. Imagine if J6 protesters had somehow shown up actually it wouldn't have happened at Trump's house, but imagine if J6 protesters had shown up at Joe Biden's house, his private residence, his $2.7 million, I'm sure worth a lot much more now, residence, like they did over this weekend at his Delaware estate. That's what happened. Pro-Hamas protesters showed up at Joe Biden's Delaware residence. Absolutely insane. Guys, if we don't start having babies, I'm just going to tell you straight up, and get this border closed and make sure we don't curtail this Islamic jihadist threat that I believe exists in the United States of America, you cannot tell me that these people don't have groups that are ready to attack within the United States of America, especially with these special interest aliens that have come from hot zones. So we got a lot to talk about. But guys, I do want to tell you, listen, I gotta be frank with you. I saw bits and pieces of Police State. I watched it in its entirety this weekend. My wife and I. It is absolutely amazing. You've got to see it. But I got to tell you this. Not only do you need to see it, but this is the only way that it's going to have the impact, in my opinion, that it should have. You have to make sure that a liberal sees it, or someone that's moderate and perhaps not quite as informed as you are, don't understand the threat of the deep state and the police state. You have got to get them to see this film. You can check it out at Salem, actually policestatefilm.net. So America is at a tipping point. And obviously, my name. I'm Carl Jackson. I'm here to tell you about the new movie that you have to see, and that is Dinesh D'Souza's Police State. In how it exposes the government's relentless persecution of the conservative MAGA movement. The America we know and love is becoming more and more like a police state every single day. The FBI has turned its eyes away from the real dangers in the world to target what they call domestic terrorists with a totalitarian agenda that's treating conservative Americans like criminals. They're targeting their political opponents using mass surveillance and censorship, indoctrinating our children and threatening families with military-style raids at their homes, threatening people like you and me who speak our minds and stand up for freedom of speech, freedom of religion, our God-given American liberties. All right, so directed by Dinesh D'Souza, Debbie D'Souza, and Bruce Schooley, Police State sounds the alarm. If you demand your freedom, they're coming after you. How did we get here, and how do we turn the tide of this tyrannical government's agenda? You have to go see this movie. Again, it's Police State. You can buy it or stream it now at policestatefilm.net. Again, that is policestatefilm.net, policestatefilm.net. And again, a lot of the stuff that's in that film is stuff that you may already know if you've watched this podcast or like-minded podcasts or listened to conservative radio hosts. However, the way that the film is put together just brings it all together, brings it all home. And there's some stuff that you may not know, and some interviews of some of the people like Mark Houck and others who experienced the wrath of this Biden administration, this Biden DOJ and the FBI that have gone rogue. And I think those personal stories are the stories that will get to people that aren't your average, everyday, big time consumer of political media like you and I are. So please don't just see the film. I encourage you to see the film, but please share the film. I think that's the only way that people are going to start understanding just how detrimental the police state is to the United States of America. Okay, we've got a lot of video to get to today, so I want to go ahead and get started right away. This is Megan Rapinoe. We're going to play a couple of back-to-back videos. Gabe, I don't think we need to play this particular one in its entirety, just enough where we show the injury and perhaps her being carted off the field. So I'll just kind of give you the stop and move on to the next video at that point. But here's the U.S. women's soccer star Megan Rapinoe. This is her very last game. I thought the World Cup was her last game. Didn't realize they were still playing. But honestly, I stopped paying attention to the women's soccer once they went woke. I actually used to enjoy watching women's soccer, not with Megan Rapinoe on the team, frankly. So anyway, here's Megan Rapinoe, her last game, just a few minutes into the game, and she just falls. Nobody pushes her down. She just falls. A fluke injury. Here it is. Let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe. Por favor.
And it would be devastating for her if she weren't able to continue.
Oh, and this is a player that we know has battled some injuries as of late in her career, and there she goes down, just unattested on the top of your screen, off to a bright start. And as you mentioned, Jackie, that would be devastating, and right now the reaction do look like she might be coming off, hands in her head. Really slow to get up.
What a sad, sad sight. And Laura Harvey having to reorganize things straight away, talking to the really experienced Lauren Barnes about what she might do here, as it looks as though Megan Rapinoe, very, very sadly, may well have to be replaced.
And then you'll watch the men cart her off the field. I don't know why she used men. I don't know why she couldn't use women.
Bethany Bolser that comes on, and this is a sight that absolutely nobody wanted to see. There's a stretcher coming on.
It's the only time men want to get close to this chick.
Substitution is about to be made.
Or vice versa.
This is such a sad, sad way for Megan Rapinoe.
I wish I could feel empathy for this chick. I really do. I don't wish harm. I don't want anybody to be injured. Nobody likes watching people get injured unnecessarily.
Fans had shown up in their numbers to celebrate a national heroine, a woman who has done so much, not just.
So just when let's go ahead and cut this video, Gabe, and let's get to the other video. So just when you want to have like a modicum of sympathy for Megan Rapinoe, let's show, as soon as you get the next video up, let's go ahead and roll that bad boy, Gabe. Okay, so this is Megan Rapinoe, and this is her response to her injury afterwards. And then I'm just going to sum it all up right after we play this last video. Go ahead and roll the tape, por favor, Gabe.
And this is a long one, although I'm gonna get the Aaron Rodgers treatment, whatever that is. So I'm gonna be calling him or whoever did his surgery, because we need to speed this up. But yeah, I thought about it a little bit. I mean, I'm not a religious person or anything. And if there was a God, like, this is proof that there isn't. This is up. So yeah, it's just up, because like 6 minutes in, eat my Achilles. I mean,
All right, what an idiot. So you go out and you go out where people might even want to support you because obviously you had a great career as a U.S. women's soccer player. But what you decide to do when you go out, you decide to go after Christians, go after religious people. Just go ahead and ding them on the way out, jab at them. I mean, this lady is a complete and utter dunce. She is in my opinion, she's a lesbian bully. She's a mean girl. I think the ending of her career is completely fitting. There she was. She missed the penalty kick in the World Cup. I thought that was fitting. And now, to me, it seems like it's fitting that she's injured. And her injury does not prove that God does not exist. What it does prove is that Megan Rapinoe is not a humble person. Megan Rapinoe is a narcissistic person that absolutely needs to be humbled. Maybe it's that God wants to get your attention, but you're so thick-skulled that he simply cannot. And she just doesn't seem to be a nice person. So that's my take on Megan Rapinoe. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. I think women's soccer is better off without you, frankly. And I hope that there will be more stars that will come into the league that will actually love the United States of America and make it enjoyable for all people to watch. And hopefully those teammates won't be bullied by other people like Megan Rapinoe. So good riddance, Megan Rapinoe. What a fitting end to your career. All right, now move on. Now, here's the exact opposite. This is CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud. And frankly, guys, I haven't paid as much attention to sports that much in the last several years just because of the wokeness. I tuned out to the NFL for quite some time, but I tend to watch it towards the end of the season. I do want to see some of the playoffs and the Super Bowl. I hadn't watched it for years after Colin Kaepernick until I think the last couple of years or so. But here's a young man. At least you don't see as much of the wokeness in the NFL anymore. CJ Stroud, apparently I haven't paid much attention to him, but he is the quarterback of the Houston, good Lord, the Texans. And apparently doing great work for them. And here's what he had to say about God. Talk about polar opposites when it comes to a Megan Rapinoe and a CJ Stroud. And tell me you don't want to, even if you're not a person of faith, tell me you don't want to get behind and back a guy like this, a genuine guy like this. Let's roll a gate.
For me, I mean, it's a lot of prayer, a lot of just knowing that, man, God wouldn't put anything on me that I can't handle. I don't deserve his grace and his mercy, but he still gives it to me, and I love him for that. Because I mean, it's not about me; it's about him and his glory. So I think that's where it comes from. I think God made me like that. I've been through a lot, not only in football, but things that made me just kind of chill during when everything's going crazy. And I thank God for putting that on me because that's something that.
All right, so that's CJ Stroud. All right, now that's a guy you can get behind. That's a guy you can get behind. And listen, because we all know that it's going to happen. He's human. So inevitably, there's going to come some point in his life where he's going to screw up. He's going to mess up. Since he's famous, right? In the public eye, people are going to come back and say, "Oh, look at," because that's what they do. The American people especially love watching Christian people fall. In my opinion, but that is CJ Stroud. This is a man that's willing to step up to the plate, stand up for his faith on a huge platform. I give him much kudos, and he's admitted he's not a perfect person. He knows a perfect God. I'm paraphrasing there, but kudos to that guy. And I don't expect a Megan Rapinoe to come out and be all, woo, praise God, or whatever, this and that. Man, but you don't have to knock Christians. You don't have to knock religious people on your way out. Just totally inconsiderate, man. That chick, honestly, I can't stand her. Just completely inconsiderate. I pray and hope that she does have a change of heart. I pray that she does one day become a Christian. But man, right now she's just a complete mean girl and a lesbian bully, in my opinion. Now, this is a video, just real quick, that shocked many people. And frankly, I got to be honest with you, it didn't shock me. I expected this to come sooner, but this is Senator Tim Scott. He joined Sunday Night in America with Trey Gowdy, former Representative Trey Gowdy, now turned Fox News television host. and announces that he's no longer running for the presidency. He's going to drop his campaign. Now, I don't know who will be the benefactor of Tim Scott. From what I understand, he will not be endorsing this. If this is true, that's a very smart move on his point. I mean, you want to hold out some leverage or some, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't just want to be you know what? I don't know. Any leverage you have, I think you should be able to use, especially for future campaigns of his. A good guy, seemingly. And but I don't think he was ready for prime time. I don't think he was ready for the presidency, frankly. And I thought this would have happened before, but I am glad it's happening now. I wish no ill will towards Senator Tim Scott. I think he's a great senator for his state. But for presidency, given what we're enduring right now, I just think wrong timing. You know, I feel the same way about Nikki Haley. Frankly, I felt the same way about Mike Pence. I feel like these were the candidates that we needed in a 2012, 2008, but 2023 headed into 24, not my cup of tea. But anyway, here is Senator Tim Scott reading the tea leaves and humbly bowing out of the race, but shocking Trey Gowdy at the same time. Let's roll the video, por favor, Gabe.
When I go back to Iowa, it will not be as a presidential candidate. I am suspending my campaign. I think the voters who are the most remarkable people on the planet have been really clear that they're telling me not now, Tim. I don't think they're saying, Trey, no, but I do think they're saying not now. And so I'm going to respect the voters, and I'm going to hold on and keep working really hard and look forward to another opportunity.
You are suspending your presidential campaign. You have plenty of money. You have the highest approval numbers of any candidate that is running, and you're a couple of states away from coming to a state where you are beloved, and you are suspending your presidential campaign.
Romans 8:28 is such an important scripture. It says that all things work together for good for those who love God and are called according to his purpose. I think the message is clear for me right now. I am indeed suspending the campaign, but I am going to remain as committed to making sure that this country chooses the right person by enjoying the journey of just helping people everywhere throughout South Carolina and throughout.
And you can see, in my opinion, that Trey Gowdy, they're great friends, right? So you can see that this news kind of took Trey Gowdy by surprise. He wanted him to obviously endure the primary, go all the way at least to South Carolina, where apparently Trey Gowdy thought he would have had a shot. I'm just not convinced of that. It seems to me that the people, have been choosing Nikki Haley over Tim Scott for the moderate wing. For the moderate wing of the party. That's what it appears to be to me. And so I think that Tim Scott, I give him kudos. I think he made the right move. I think it was a humble move. But again, as he said, it's not necessarily that the voters are saying no, but perhaps they're saying not right now. And who knows? Tim Scott, he might be one of those people that are picked as a vice presidential pick, whether it's a Donald Trump or someone else. That wouldn't be a bad idea. However, I just think, given the times that we live in, I would prefer to see someone more conservative on the top of the ticket. And as vice president, were something to happen to the president of the United States. However, somebody that can, bring people together, inspire people, but also fight the conservative battles that we must win, in 2024 and after. So anyway, Senator Tim Scott out of the race. We got lots of video for you. Today. Is this the one of in London there, Gabe? This is near Biden's personal home, so a huge crowd gathering outside of Delaware, Biden's home in Delaware. Look at this video. Let's go ahead and roll it, Gabe. Look at this video, man. Ceasefire now. These idiots, these morons. I wish we could ship them all to Gaza and see if they would be able to yell that same what am I looking for? I wish they would go test out to see whether or not they could protest there in Gaza. There's no place in the Arab world that they would be able to have the type of protest that they have here. And yeah, there should be a ceasefire after all of Hamas is eliminated. As a matter of fact, let me give you the latest updates I had checked earlier on what the IDF was able to accomplish. And guys, I understand. Listen, I understand that this is not. Oh, where is it? I retweeted it earlier. That war is not for the faint of heart. It's why you want to avoid war at all costs. It is not going to be. It is not going to be easy. It is always going to be sad. It is always going to be, devastating. And quite frankly, you're dealing with evil people when you consider the people of Hamas. Here I am. I'm looking for this video, and I pull up, sadly, this boy that was a teenage boy who was severely beaten by a group of students in Las Vegas. He ended up dying of his injuries. A guy, I'm sorry, this just popped up on my phone, so I want to make sure that I share this. A young kid by the name of Jonathan Lewis was beaten by up to 15 boys at his school and was subsequently put on life support in critical condition. They all should go to jail for manslaughter. They should all go to jail for manslaughter. When something like this, man, bunch of punks, man. I can't. Woo! I can't stand it. You're gonna beat up on one dude. 15 dudes on one dude. Oh my Lord. Anyway. I'm sorry, and I don't want to just breeze past this. Maybe we'll spend some more time on this particular subject tomorrow. Gabe, I'm going to forward this to you just so I don't forget to bring some more attention to this a little later on. Here we go, right in front of a podcast, acting like we're straight up live. All right, so listen, these Palestinian protests, these pro-Hamas protests, are absolutely insane and very dangerous that they're allowing this stuff to go on because Biden has already shown weakness overseas. If we start seeing, actually, we've already seen it. What we saw in D.C. over the past weekend. Guys, in 2020, I feel like one of the mistakes that President Trump made was he should have enacted the Insurrection Act. And honestly, just like George H.W. Bush did in 1992 with the L.A. riots, you cannot train people. You cannot train people that they can destroy property and go crazy. Right now, if they're peaceful protesters, I get it. Honestly, once you're in the road, you need to get your behinds out of the road. There needs to be sanctioned areas where people can protest. Listen, we can protest. We have free speech in America. But once these people go buck wild, it's crazy. And I don't like Joe Biden one iota, but I'm sorry. The fools should not be allowed to protest in front of the president's home. As much as I cannot stand Joe Biden, that should not be allowed. I'm sorry, that should not be allowed. Just my opinion. People are too wacky. Things are a little too crazy now. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. That's a little too crazy. Look at what's happening in London. Let's just run this video real quick. I'm gonna look for the updates on IDF, what they were able to do over the weekend, because they were able to kick some Hamas booty. And I'm not mad. They're not slowing down on the ceasefire. They were helping to evacuate Gazans out of Gaza into safety while Hamas terrorists were shooting at the evacuees, trying to keep them in. That's who we're dealing with. That's who Israel is dealing with. And there's a major propaganda campaign against Israel. Listen, guys, you don't have to. To me, this isn't like Russia, Ukraine. I don't even feel like we necessarily have to send any money or troops to Israel. What we need to do is just give them our vocal support and let them go out and kick booty, because we know they can. We need to back them any way we can. If we can sell them military equipment, whatever they need to rid the world of Hamas, God, thank you, Jesus. I am willing. These people are evil. These people are sick. And quite frankly, if you support baby killing, babies having their heads chopped off, burned in ovens, women, helpless women, raped so severely, women, elderly grandmothers and children, females, raped so severely and mass rapes by Hamas, that their pelvises were broken, then you're sick and evil too. So screw you, screw Hamas. That is the way I feel. Sorry, I'm so tired of this, man. You can't recognize evil. You can't call evil out for evil. Look at these morons. Let's go ahead and play these morons who wouldn't be able to protest like this anywhere in the Arab world. Let's take a quick look at these morons before we move on, Gabe. I'm sorry. I'm just so tired of this crap, man. These people don't realize how good they have it in the United States of America. I'm just tired of this crap. All right, let's roll, please, Gabe.
Palestine will be free.
From the river to the sea. From the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. All right, you can cut the idiots off. From the Mediterranean River, from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. That's the total annihilation of Israel. This isn't about land. If you look on the map, Israel's a little dot in the Middle East. It is surrounded, literally surrounded by Arab nations where you can barely see Israel on the map. And they're chanting from the river to the sea. I guarantee you these idiots don't even know what they're talking about. They don't know what river and they don't know what sea. I guarantee you, you went through that crowd, 90% of these morons wouldn't know what they were talking about. Unless they are actually from the Middle East, they probably would, because they want the total destruction and annihilation of the Jewish people. This nonsense has to stop. It has to stop. And if they get violent, the Insurrection Act needs to be adopted in order to squash any riots. All right, let me make sure that I get. Oh, here's some news that I want to share with you real quick too. I know I'm bringing a lot to you today. I think we still have one more video. Is that correct, Gabe, of Jen Psaki almost endorsing Trump? And I want to talk to you about that. Let me know if you have that video, Gabe, or if you can go ahead and get that video up. I'm going to try to find some of the updates on the IDF here. Oh, and good news too for those of you that are pro-life and actually love babies. There was a great column by Terry Schilling, American Principles Project at WashingtonExaminer.com. There is actually Virginia did better than any of the other states. It is the redistricting maps that kind of, we didn't quite get the results that we wanted out of Virginia. You had the Democrats that retained the Senate. We lost the House, but it's because of the redistricting maps, and the numbers are so close it's not even funny. Now Democrats may lose total control of the Senate because we found out that one of the senators lied about her. She lied about her address. Before I get to that, let me just read this real quick. All right, so here's what happened over the weekend, over the weekend. This was actually, what is it, man? So this was Saturday, I believe. So just over Friday, they neutralized terrorist cells. The IDF took control of 11 Hamas terrorist posts. They destroyed a vehicle that was rigged with explosives. They located and destroyed an underground terrorist tunnel route. They struck Hamas weapons storage facilities. They actually did the same, if I'm not mistaken, in Lebanon. They struck two military facilities or terrorist facilities in Lebanon, because it looks like Hezbollah is itching to get in the fight too, at least more deeply. They also struck military targets inside the El Shati camp. All right, so anyway, the IDF is putting in work, and I could not be more happy about it. And then I'll end it with these last couple of stories that I think are very important to talk about, particularly since we have just come out of the Veterans Day weekend. I want to talk to you about what's happening with our United States Air Force Academy. This is very important. This is stuff that sometimes I got to be honest with you, I talk about, and sometimes even I forget to call my congressman, but I'm going to do that today. I'm going to urge you to do the same. We have to, what's happening with our military, this DEI, this CRT, that is dividing and separating soldiers inside of our military. that it is completely unacceptable. When these cats get into the military, go into the military, I don't care which branch of the military, these people are going to potentially risk their lives in the defense of this country. And at that particular time, there isn't going to be a skin color that matters. The only thing that's going to matter is that you are team red, white, and blue. That is all that's going to matter. So what's happening with our military forces is just a complete and utter scandal. Gabe, let me know if you have that video or not. If not, I'll just okay. All right. So he'll get that video up in just a sec. Meanwhile, let me go here. Let me talk to you about what's happening with our military. This is extremely important. AMAC had a great article over the weekend, and I actually talked about this before. I did a segment or two when I was in for either the Officer Tatum or Larry Elder on this particular topic. But it says here, this is from AMAC, diversity, equity, and inclusion reigns supreme at the Air Force Academy. So you guys may know of CRT, critical race theory, and its little evil stepbrother DEI. They are divisive. Right, and they are meant to foment hate and separatism, and they're doing exactly that. AMAC writes that for the past 10 years, the United States Air Force Academy has been immersed in DEI programming. That is diversity, equity, and inclusion programming. And they're asking, what are the results? They asked the question, what are the results? So check this out. Here's what's happening to our military, young men and women going in, particularly to the United States Air Force. So it says here from 2017 through 18, they had 6 permanent professors. Now, I'm assuming permanent just means literally that, permanent full-time professors, including a department chairman that resigned from the Air Force Academy. They say the timing, circumstances, and reasons are unknown, but in a statement published last week, all of the professors pointed to sweeping cultural changes at the United States Air Force. So the dean of academics, they say, or they wrote, is disdainful of the honor code and averse to academic excellence. So can you imagine the dean of academics at the United States Air Force Academy not being spiteful, being disdainful towards the honor code that exists within the military? What the heck are you there for? This is insane. They say the dean developed academic courses of low expectations to adapt to the scholastic aptitude of intercollegiate athletes. So they dumbed down the education with the United States Air Force, within the United States Air Force Academy. They said there's an atmosphere of intimidation where they silenced full professors. And again, I'm assuming that means full-time professors as the dean transferred power and influence to civilian faculty members, they say. And they say the degradation has been so bad within the United States Air Force that they don't think it's reversible. This is crazy. They said basically what's happening is it's been this placement of political officers within the ranks of the armed forces, and it's so ubiquitous. It's kind of like, meaning it's just everywhere within the armed forces now that it's like they're developing a totalitarian culture within our military, and specifically speaking here, the United States Air Force Academy. And they said here's what's happening. Let me just read this. The placement of political officers within the ranks of the armed forces is ubiquitous in totalitarian cultures where anonymous accusations, psychological pressure, and propaganda are employed to exact complete compliance. The potential for abuse of power and intimidation cannot be overstated, they said. Diversity and inclusion representatives have been installed in all cadet squadrons. Did you hear that? Diversity and inclusion representatives have been installed in all cadet squadrons, and they report parallel and outside the military chain of command to the Academy's DEI chief, a gentleman by the name of Dr. Joseph Looney. That last name is fitting. Looney is a psychologist and counselor by training. He earned his diversity and inclusion certificate from Cornell University. Apparently, there's a pipeline to the United States Air Force Academy from Cornell University. They say an institution that has been criticized for its, quote, outstanding perversion of academic values. So here's the case of white boy number 2, as they call it, which they say illustrates the infringements of one's human's right when academics and diversity, equity, and inclusion collide. So Cassandra Benson is a Cornell University graduate. This is the person that I talked about before. She teaches academics at the Air Force Academy. So in a lecture given in January of this year, Professor Benson addressed minority cadets by their proper names. All right, listen to this racism, but declined to do so when calling on white male cadets. She glibly announced that since all white people look alike, she would refer to them by number. So one young man was Christian white boy number 2, much to the mortification of the other cadets within the classroom. But Professor Benson, that bigoted racist, she didn't care at all. She continued directing verbal assaults at her victim, whose only crime was to be the recipient of his parents' genes. Professor Benson's actions were reported, but the Academy declined to comment on her employment status, given Professor's antics, they say, Benson's antics, and Dr. Looney's immense power. The link between Cornell University and the United States Air Force Academy is alarming. In June 2023, they brought in Brigadier General Gavin Marks, but nobody knows what the hell he's done so far. But he was appointed at the Air Force Academy, commandment of cadets, and vowed to change the culture, all right, at the Air Force Academy. But so far, he has failed, according to AMAC, to define what is wrong with the culture. So if you can't identify the problem, how the hell are you going to fix it? So he was brought in to do just that, but he hasn't done it. General Marks, this is a guy that was brought in on occasion in public, given the Black Power salute while in uniform. So in other words, he's just going to make the white people submit to him. That's the culture. They're just going to totally take over the United States Air Force. This is absolutely astonishing to me, and sadly, I wouldn't be sending my child to the Air Force or enrolling in the military. I don't know if you guys saw this over the weekend. We'll roll this video of Jen Psaki in just a second, or Psaki. I'm not sure how you pronounce it still to this day. I'm not sure that I care. Perhaps I should, though. Anyway, it is what it is. But over the weekend, you saw Donald Trump, Kid Rock, Tucker Carlson. I didn't get that video for you. I mean, it's all over social media. And it's exciting. Frankly, I think it's what Donald Trump does. I think it's what endears him to so many people. I mean, the guy's a billionaire, and he goes around and, he seems to relate to the people. You show up at a UFC match, people are absolutely going to love you. And they did just that. It's one of those things that he has. He has a certain type of charisma, and frankly, that he's always had, right? This is what makes it so hard for the other candidates, whether you're DeSantis or any of the others, to kind of get a fair fight, especially when Trump isn't participating in the debates. You want to talk politics. You want to talk issues. You want to try to out-Trump Trump on policy issues. And I don't blame the candidates for that, man. This is a free country. They can run if they want to run. You got a lot of people, including Bernie Marcus, one of the founders of Home Depot, that is telling everybody else they should bow out of the race. And apparently he was supporting DeSantis. I didn't realize he was, but now he's supporting Trump. And I'm like, you know what? I love you, Bernie Marcus. Appreciate what you've done. I used to work at Home Depot, but screw you. I can't stand that. I'm like, I can love Trump and say, I'm sorry. I don't like people telling me that I can't listen to other people and I need to listen to them. In a free country, when it comes to our politics, where we the people are supposed to decide, but the rich and elite get to decide, even in the Republican Party? Nah, sorry, Bernie. Sorry, Bernie. I love Trump, but I can't stand when people try to tell me what to do, especially in the political arena. I'm like, no. We're conservatives. You want to spend your money on Trump? Spend your money on Trump. You want to spend your money on DeSantis? Spend your money on DeSantis. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to vote. Don't tell me how to think. Don't tell me who to listen to. I'm a free man. I make up my own damn mind. I hate seeing this in the Republican Party, but we're starting to see it more and more. It is what it is. But anyway, here's Jen Psaki giving an endorsement, accidentally perhaps, of the former President Donald Trump. Let's roll the video, por favor, Gabe.
And yet, the hand-wringing and cocktail party speculation about an alternative to Joe Biden is continuing, will continue. Guess what? Joe Biden isn't perfect. No candidate is, by the way. But we have to understand what the alternative is here. If elected to a second term, Donald Trump would prosecute anyone he deems an enemy, unleash troops on protesters, and essentially unravel the rule of law as we know it. And this time, he plans to line his administration with people who will actually help him do it. But sure, Joe Biden is 3 years older and occasionally trips over things. Look, there's a lot to be concerned about right now when it comes to a second Trump term. The speeches are getting much more disturbing and much more unhinged, and we should all hear it that way.
All right, so basically, Jen Psaki says, listen, we don't want Trump back in office because we're fearful that Trump might come after the people that went after him. Now, this will appeal to me, and frankly, I do want justice on that end. I'm not going to lie to you. I think all these people that try to fundamentally destroy our country and undermine former President Donald Trump while he was in office, I think many of them should go to jail, frankly. And frankly, I think President Trump should have started this much earlier. I think he had the opportunity to start it in his first at bat, and I wish he would have. I wish he would have. I wish he would have had stronger and better people around him at the time and advising him, so he would have went after a lot of these fools then, because a lot of them do deserve to be in jail. But it's one of the reasons why I encourage you to make sure that you share that movie, policestatefilm.net, with someone who wouldn't watch it otherwise. Otherwise, I'm not convinced that there will be justice as far as this is concerned. And also something else you want to be mindful of. I'm not sure exactly what Jen Psaki is doing here, because all of us as conservatives, we hear this, and I think most people are going to have, and as a matter of fact, I know they are going to have, based upon what I've seen on Twitter, the reaction is like, man, these fools are scared to go against Trump, scared of what he might do. But also you have to remember that the Democrat Party is hopeful and prayerful that they're going against Donald Trump, because, guys, they're not running Joe Biden. You even heard in her clip, like, yeah, Joe Biden might be old, he might be this and that. What is she telling you? She knows. She was there. Jen Psaki knows that Joe Biden isn't running anything. Joe Biden isn't running that White House. He might have the final say when he's lucid, or at least recommend something. But everyone else is carrying. It's an administrative state. It's a managerial state that is carrying out the wishes of far left, perhaps Joe Biden, definitely Barack Obama, and instituting these policies that are fundamentally transforming America and bringing us down to size. So I would just caution conservatives, that could go both ways. They think they can defeat Donald Trump, the left does, so it might egg us on, oh, yeah, see, you know what I mean? It can go both ways. But at the same token, there are going to be some people that are legitimately worried, and should be, were Donald Trump to get in, because they don't want to be prosecuted. And frankly, they should be. I'm not sure that they will be. I'm afraid that a lot of people, even if Donald Trump were to get in, would get away with a lot of the stuff that they've already gotten away with. I just because the country is so torn, the country is so frazzled, and there hasn't been good messaging, in my opinion, on this. The left has just managed to, all these fake charges with Donald Trump, 4 indictments, nearly 100 charges, they've managed to build this narrative that not Joe Biden, even though all the corruption is coming out, but that Trump is the bad guy. I mean, these people are evil. They're evil, the left is. But they're strategic, make no doubt about it. All right, last thing, and we'll bring this bad boy to a close, that I wanted to mention, because we got a win, Second Amendment owners. I was out at a gun range Saturday, enjoying time with one of my brothers and my former co-host back in the day, Mickey Alvarez. We were out there, shooting, having some fun. It was a great time. I enjoy the Second Amendment. You should too. You want to be able to defend yourself against evil people and evil governments, frankly. And that's why the Second Amendment exists, is to fight against a tyrannical government first and foremost. But I also enjoy it because obviously I don't want to be in a situation where somebody can take my life or a family member or friend that I'm near if I'm not armed. So that was a good time at the range. But let me just give you this breakdown. This was from the Federalist. This actually occurred last week, but this is the first time I'm bringing it to you here. But here's a quick summary. So millions of legal law-abiding gun owners can basically breathe a sigh of relief. Here's what happened. So law-abiding gun owners who were turned into criminals overnight under the Biden administration's new pistol brace ban have temporary relief after a federal judge in Texas issued a nationwide injunction that prevented the ATF, or Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, from enforcing that injunction. So you have U.S. District Judge Matthew Kacsmark. He ruled last Wednesday that the ATF and its attempts to legislate by regulation. Remember, this is something that I talk about all the time. This is why you listen. In order to end the deep state, I'm serious, guys. It can't just be the DOJ, the FBI. I'm talking about the ATF. I'm talking about the IRS. I'm talking about the Department of Energy or EPA. These organizations need to be ended. They need to be uprooted. There needs to be, or there needs to be legislation that they can only do X, X, and X. They can never actually, they just need to be abolished. Screw it. I'm sitting here thinking like there's going to be good people coming through Washington while the world is going to hell with gasoline draws on. No, they just need to be abolished, because this is what the bureaucratic state does. Instead of going through the legislative process where they make a case to you and I, we the people, and then we get to vote for our representative republic, our representatives to represent us in Congress, you have these bureaucratic institutions that just make law. That's not our Constitution. That's not our system. They shouldn't be able to do that. So the ATF were banning these things when they're not legislators. They don't have the right to do that. Whether you agree or disagree with what they're doing, they don't have the right to do that. And if you think they do, just imagine if a Republican, if Trump or a DeSantis gets in and they use these agencies in order to pass laws that they couldn't get passed under Congress with your consent, you'd be going nuts. And you should be. But anyway, thank God this judge ruled against them. Here's what the law sought to do. It sought to jail and fine any of the estimated 40 million U.S. pistol brace owners who refused to reclassify their weapons as short barrel rifles, which require registration with the government and a $200 tax stamp, or destroy the pistol brace. So you would have been a felon overnight if you refuse to classify your weapon as a short barrel rifle or get rid of the pistol brace. Gun owners in 21 states, they say, with SBR bans were forced to choose between relinquishing their weapons or destroying that pistol brace. Here's the court summary. The plaintiffs in Brito versus ATF, or Brito, B-R-I-T-T-O, versus ATF, 3 decorated Marine veterans, praise God for you guys, represented by the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, argued that the rule violates the Second Amendment and should be rendered, quote, void of vagueness, or void for vagueness, they say. So the judge agreed, saying that this case, or the ATF, brought undue financial burden? Yes, undue financial burden, not just to individuals, but to the manufacturers themselves. You have companies that exist. He said, like, listen, these companies that exist, they would have gone down in flames. Just all of a sudden, people that built a product, sell a product, that employ people, they're gone. And then you have a bunch of people like you and I that own firearms that may or may not have pistol braces that would have to defend ourselves in the courtroom, or, turn into felons overnight. How insane. Oh, just overnight. No election occurred. The ATF just decides to do it under Biden's authority. Here's a quote from the judge. Additionally, ATF admits the 10-year cost of the rule is over $1 billion. And because of the rule, certain manufacturers that obtain most of their sales from stabilizing braces risk having to close their doors for good. So kudos to this judge for having compassion for people that actually provide jobs in the United States of America and that love the Second Amendment. The judge also claimed, quote, the court is certainly sympathetic to ATF's concerns over public safety in the wake of tragic mass shootings. Close quote, but noted that, quote, public safety concerns must be addressed in ways that are lawful, close quote. So you have the ATF trying to act unlawfully. lawfully. He went on to say that this rule is not, close quote, quote unquote, meaning lawful. So he's the first judge to grant an injunction in this case. So we'll have to see what happens. Nor is he the first, but Kacsmaryk is not the first judge to grant an injunction in this case. I'm sorry. Or Kacsmaryk. Kacsmaryk, nor is he the first to chastise the ATF for enacting a rule as the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals determined in August would, quote, likely fail constitutional muster. So the Texas judge is, however, the first judicial authority to apply his injunction to all pistol brace owners, not just the plaintiffs bringing the case. Oh, man, I love that. The counsel for the plaintiffs said, and I quote, "This new federal ruling protects the Second Amendment rights of millions of Americans, and Will, that's their legal organization, is proud to work alongside our clients and blaze a trail against this unconstitutional federal action." So I tell you what, Veterans Day weekend, it was good to get some great news brought to you courtesy of 3 Marines. God bless our Marines. God bless our United States Air Force. Guys, call your congressman. This racism, this DEI, this CRT that's just permeated throughout our military institutions has got to come to an abrupt end. Otherwise, we won't have a military. All right, guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. Please, again, check out the film, policestatefilm.net, 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 and please share it, guys. Honestly, listen, the film is amazing. The documentary is amazing. But where it's going to have the most impact isn't people like you and I. It's people that are on the fence, people that are little, liberal, or Republicans that are moderate, that don't fully understand how, the depravity and understand the deep state. I can't even get the words out. That don't understand how corrupt our system, our DOJ and the FBI are. There's some personal stories in there with real people that have undergone some serious crap with the DOJ and FBI. Kyle Seraphin, Stephen Friends, both former FBI whistleblowers helped to consult on the film. So make sure you check it out. It is really worth seeing, but please share it. We cannot be insular. This message has to go beyond conservatives. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.